Growing up, there was a lot of good in my life, but there was a lot of hardship and a lot of pain. A lot of that stemmed with my relationship with my mother. When I was 4, we were at the mall together and I was playing in those circular clothing racks, and I thought it'd be fun to hide in the middle of it and hide from my mom. So I did that for a little bit, and I came out of there and I couldn't find her, and I kept calling out for her, and I just could never find my mother. Eventually I found a spot to sit, and as I was sitting down, I looked up and I saw my mom coming to me. And I was so excited, so ecstatic that I ran to her and I hugged her. And when I hugged her, it wasn't the kind of embrace that I would have imagined a mother would have after losing their child in the mall. And ultimately, I felt like my mother wasn't excited to see me. She didn't want to find me. I was just feeling a lot of these feelings of rejection and not feeling loved in that moment. We ended up moving to Georgia when I was 13 years old, about that age. And that's when I discovered that my mom struggled with alcoholism. I ended up moving back to Texas after my parents divorced, and it was just me and my dad, and my mom remained in Atlanta. With that, though, and kind of being separated from her, we were actually able to really grow a lot closer. For the first time in my life, I felt like I had my mother, and we were really able to build that bond. But unfortunately, she passed away very suddenly when I was 19. I had learned that she had been under the influence of alcohol at that time. I decided a few months later to move to Atlanta. So I was about 20 years old at this point. I started dating somebody about a year later after that, and we ended up having a child together. After I finished graduate school, I ended up buying my first house and getting pregnant with my second son. I was also really struggling with my marriage at that time. And so throughout that marriage, I often felt like a single mother. I still felt rejected and undesired. Having those feelings and then taking on the project with the house, I was in over my head, and before I knew it, we had run out of money and we were living in an unfinished home. But later that summer, I ended up divorcing and moving to Arlington, Texas with my 2 boys. And Pastor Marty did a sermon that was talking about the 99 versus the 1, calling on us and telling us how we could go about this, the importance of it. And I was like, I'm the one. Like, I don't know what you want from me. I was very confused and walked away not feeling the greatest that day. But I still had the goal of wanting to reach out to the pastor. During that conversation, I told him my story, and he said, I don't mean to be rude when I say this, be patient with me, but you've tried it your way all this time, and look where it's landed you. What if you tried it God's way? I was going off of all of these other unhealthy ways to try to get out of this situation, but I hadn't ever leaned on God. I've learned about the wonderful gift of grace. It frees me from the burdens of shame and guilt that I have for my sin, because I know God loves me, God forgives me. And if you're part of the 99, my biggest encouragement to you is to not be afraid. Don't be afraid to ask somebody about their faith. Don't be afraid to let them know that you're praying for them. You may not see the immediate benefits of your actions of reaching out to someone, but you never know with one question, one act, what it can do to change someone's life and bring them closer to God.